I knew something was wrong the moment Megan started wearing perfume again. Not the light floral stuff she used to dab on for brunches or parent-teacher nights. No, this was deeper, sultrier. A scent that lingered long after she left a room, curling into the air like a secret waiting to be uncovered. At first, I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she just needed to feel sexy. Marriage had a way of numbing things. 2 kids, 12 years, routines fossilized into the walls. But then came the new lingerie. Lacy, strappy things with more suggestion than coverage, hidden in shopping bags she thought I wouldn't notice. She said they were just for herself, part of some self-care kick. I wanted to believe that. God, I did. But the signs kept coming. Late-night errands. Unexplained trips to yoga with no post-workout glow or mat in sight. And her phone, always locked, always flipped down when I walked into a room. Megan had never been secretive before. We'd once been that couple who read each other's texts aloud, laughed over memes in bed. Now silence. It was the 3rd Thursday in a row she said she needed air, around 10 p.m. that I decided to follow her. I felt like a goddamn cliché, suspicious husband, sneaking through his own neighborhood like a pervert in gym shoes. But something in my gut had shifted. It wasn't just suspicion, it was dread. I tailed her in my car, headlights off, 2 blocks behind. She didn't even look back. She drove with purpose, lips pursed, one hand resting on the wheel like she was heading to a lover, not a Walgreens. 10 minutes later, she pulled into a parking lot lit by soft amber lights. A sign flickered gently above the door, Dante's Holistic Studio. I sat there, frozen. Dante. I'd heard the name. She mentioned him once, a massage therapist who specialized in deep tissue alignment and energetic release. I remembered smirking about it, teasing her about LA wellness junkies. She never laughed. Through the windshield, I saw her walk inside like she belonged there. Her hips swayed just enough. She wasn't dressed like someone expecting a massage, no hoodie, no yoga pants. She wore a silky top, the kind you don't wear a bra with, and a tight pair of jeans that hugged her ass like a second skin. Something twisted in my chest. I waited, engine idling, half hoping she'd just pick up a forgotten appointment card and leave. But 23 minutes later, she came back out with him. Tall, tan, shirt unbuttoned halfway down his chest like some bad romance cover. His body screamed gym devotion, but it was the confidence that hit me hardest. He didn't touch her, not at first. Just leaned close, his hand brushing hers, his lips at her ear. She laughed, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard in months. Soft, breathless, flushed. Then he kissed her. Not quick, not friendly. A slow, deliberate brush of lips that deepened for just long enough to confirm what I already feared. Her hands didn't push him away. They pulled him closer. And just like that, something inside me cracked. I didn't honk the horn. I didn't confront them. I didn't even cry. I watched, silent, as they said their goodbyes, his palm lingering on her waist, her eyes shining with something too dangerous to name, and then she got back in her car and drove away, oblivious to the wreckage she left behind. I sat there for 10 minutes before I could breathe again. When I finally started the car, my knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Not from rage. From resolve. She wanted secrets? She was going to get a taste of her own game. I wasn't going to shout, or scream, or beg her to explain. No, that would give her control. And Megan had already taken too much. I was going to expose every lie, every breathless giggle behind my back. But first, I needed proof. Real proof. Something undeniable. Because if I learned one thing tonight, it was this. The truth doesn't hurt as much when you can use it to destroy the people who buried it. The next morning, Megan was back to playing wife. Pancakes, soft robe, hair slightly tousled like she wanted to sell me a version of domestic bliss she hadn't truly believed in for months. She poured me coffee with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I watched her silently, wondering if she could feel how different I was now. Maybe she mistook my quiet for acceptance. Or apathy. But the truth was, something inside me had shifted, snapped clean. The pain was still there, raw and aching, but it had folded into something sharper. Purpose. I didn't sleep that night. While she snored softly beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling and constructing the outline of a plan. I couldn't rush this. Couldn't blow up our lives with emotion and empty accusations. I needed leverage. Evidence. Truth that would turn her lies into ruins. That's when the idea hit me, Dante's massage studio. I knew from Megan's earlier ramblings that Dante offered more than just sore back relief. She once joked that he had magic hands, followed by a too long pause and a playful smirk that now curdled in my memory. She claimed the place was professional, spiritual. Maybe it was, once. But I'd seen that kiss. Nothing about it was professional. If I was going to bring this thing down, I needed to get closer. Much closer. So that Friday afternoon, I called and booked a session under a different last name. I altered my appearance just enough, grew out the stubble, swapped out the clean-cut polo for a wrinkled button-up, added a pair of thick-rimmed glasses Megan always said made me look like a college professor. I felt ridiculous walking into the studio, but I had one goal: get inside Dante's world without him suspecting a thing. The studio smelled like lavender oil and faint sweat. Soothing music played, some blend of rain and chimes, and everything had that soft, dim glow designed to make you forget the outside world. I nearly laughed at how perfectly staged it all was. A din of erotic healing cloaked in bohemian serenity. Dante emerged from the back like he'd stepped out of a commercial. Shirtless, muscular, and smiling like he knew every secret you didn't. He greeted me with a handshake, firm, warm, and far too confident. "First time?" he asked. I nodded. "Heard you're the best." He grinned wider, teeth perfect. That's what they say. The first session was unremarkable, mostly silence, aside from his occasional hums of approval whenever I relaxed into a stretch. But I wasn't there for the physical relief. I was listening, watching, cataloging. His voice, his touch, the way his eyes lingered too long. As I left, I noticed a framed thank you card on his front desk. The handwriting was Megan's. "You changed my life," it read, followed by a small heart drawn in silver ink. That night, I didn't say a word about it. She came to bed smelling like him, citrus and sandalwood, and I had to fight the bile rising in my throat as she curled up beside me, her bare leg draped over mine like we were still lovers. For a moment, the irony almost made me laugh. She still wanted the safety of my arms, even while she carried another man's scent on her skin. And the worst part? I still felt desire. That tension, that ache in my body, I couldn't switch it off, no matter how betrayed I felt. Her warmth, the curve of her hip under the sheets, the subtle shift of her breath when I touched her waist, it still got to me. My body didn't know she was a liar. It only knew she was familiar. But I didn't touch her. I couldn't. Not yet. I booked 3 more sessions over the next 2 weeks. I changed names, altered my appearance each time just slightly, and Dante never once seemed to recognize me. Each visit, I asked careful questions, joked about how flexible he must be, how many women probably fawned over him. He played it cool. But beneath the calm, he gave himself away. "Oh man, you'd be surprised," he said during our 3rd session, kneading into my shoulders. "Some of them aren't here for the massage, if you know what I mean." I offered a soft laugh. "Yeah? Regulars." He chuckled. "You could say that. Married women, man. Lonely. Bored. They come in all pretty and pent up, and I just help them unwind. Sometimes it's more than just a rub-down." There it was. He said it with pride. No shame. Just casual swagger. My blood boiled under the surface, but I forced a smirk and said, "Sounds like you've got a good thing going." "Hey, I give them what their husbands can't," he replied, voice low and loaded with ego. "It's therapeutic. No strings." I left that session shaking. That night, Megan tried to initiate sex. Her touch was slow, gentle, like she was trying to reconnect. She whispered something about missing me lately, how she felt more present now. It was almost convincing. Almost. I let her hand slide lower before I pulled away. "Long day," I murmured. She gave a soft hum of understanding, but I felt the sting in her pause. I watched her turn away, shoulders tense, and for a second, I hated how badly I wanted to believe her lie. How badly I wanted to pretend everything could go back to normal. But the truth had teeth now, and I was going to use every one of them. The 4th time I visited Dante's studio, I wore a baseball cap low over my eyes and wrapped a black brace around my wrist, fake, of course. I claimed to be a landscape contractor dealing with chronic forearm pain. Dante barely blinked. He was more interested in his own stories than mine, and that was exactly what I was counting on. He had no idea I was Megan's husband. No clue that the man lying half-naked on his table, smiling politely and offering subtle ego strokes, was quietly building a case that would incinerate his life. I'd already installed the recorder, a small pin mic stitched behind the seam of my jacket. It caught every word he said during our sessions. The first few visits had been warm-ups, probing, testing boundaries. But now, the net was closing. "You ever get tired of it?" I asked, voice low, casual. "Sleeping with all these women?" Dante laughed, a deep, masculine rumble that grated against my nerves. "Tired? Man, no. If anything, I get tired of pretending it's just about massage. Some of these women come in practically begging for more, like they haven't been touched right in years. He reached down to adjust the pressure on my shoulder. His fingers dug in expertly, but I wasn't focused on the relief. I was focused on the voice recorder tucked into my jacket, faithfully capturing every syllable. I don't judge, he went on, voice lazy. Most of them are married. Lonely. Some of them whisper my name like it's a prayer. I clenched my teeth, but forced a smile. Yeah. He leaned in close, breath brushing my ear. Hell yeah. Got one client, married to some stiff, real family man type. She comes in wearing these little thongs under her jeans, like she wants me to see. Started with massages. Now she doesn't even bother pretending. The way he said it, so damn smug, I wanted to put my fist through his perfect smile. But I didn't. I lay still, silent, rage compressing into something sharper. I knew who he was talking about. My Megan. The lingerie. The late-night yoga. The carefully groomed smiles when she came home, just after he'd finished with her. He hadn't said her name yet, but he would. I'd make sure of it. At home, Megan was more affectionate than usual. It was confusing, almost cruel. She'd lean her head on my shoulder during Netflix nights, sneak kisses as I made breakfast, run her fingers down my arm, and smile like she remembered what I felt like. I wasn't sure what hurt more, the betrayal or the fact that I wanted to believe her. One night, she came into our bedroom wearing nothing but a black silk robe. It slid off her shoulder as she straddled me in the dark. Her skin was warm, soft, familiar. Her breath smelled faintly of red wine and vanilla. She kissed me with slow hunger, her hips rocking against mine. I should have stopped her. Every cell in my body told me it was wrong, dangerous even, but I didn't. The tension broke. I grabbed her hips and pulled her down, hard. Her gasp ignited something primal in me. She clawed at my chest, bit my lip, whispered my name like she meant it. But in the back of my mind, I wondered if she was picturing him. When it was over, she curled up next to me, breath still shaky, and whispered, I missed you. I didn't respond, because I wasn't sure which part of me she was talking to, the husband she was lying to, or the ghost of the man I used to be. The next morning, I transferred all the audio files to my laptop. Hours of Dante bragging, jokes, innuendos, and finally, during our 5th session, the smoking gun. I mean, Megan's not the only one, he said. Megan. He said her name. But she's definitely my favorite. Always so eager. Loves it when I go deep. Screams if I just touch her the right way. Man, I've done things to that woman that her husband probably doesn't even know are possible. I froze, hand trembling on the mouse. There it was. Her name. Her body. Her shame, now preserved in crisp audio clarity. Proof. And now, I had a choice. I could confront her. Explode. Throw the recordings at her like daggers and watch her scramble to pick up the pieces. But that would be too easy. Too merciful. No, this needed to burn. Slowly. Publicly. So I backed everything up. Triple copies. USB, cloud, encrypted folder. Then I started editing. Cutting clips. Pulling Dante's most vulgar boasts into a tight reel. Adding Megan's name to the file. A highlight reel of betrayal. A weapon. I wasn't sure how far I would go with it. Not yet. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Neither of them would see it coming. Not the man who thought he could fuck his way through marriages and come out clean. And not the woman who still lay beside me at night, pretending I was blind. I didn't expect to find her in the comments. The video hadn't gone public. Not yet. But I'd uploaded a short, blurred, audio-only clip anonymously to a private Reddit group for betrayed spouses, just to gauge the reaction. The audio didn't mention names or places, but Dante's voice was clear. His arrogance oozed between every syllable, especially the way he said Megan's name. I wanted to see if anyone recognized it. If others knew him. If this was part of a pattern. It was. Within an hour, there were comments. Most were the usual. Disgusting. Typical narcissist. I hope his life burns down. But one message stood out. That voice. I know that voice. His name is Dante. He did the same to me 2 years ago. I still remember every lie. Her username was Lonery Builds. I clicked on her profile, unsure what I was expecting. Rage, maybe. Or sorrow. What I found was control. Intelligence. She had posted before. Not often, but when she did, it was articulate. Sharp. Her story was public. Dante had been her boyfriend for 3 years. They were talking marriage before she caught him cheating. Not just once. Dozens of times. Always with married women. He had a pattern. He liked married women. He got off on it. And now, it was clear, Megan had just been the latest in a long line. I messaged Lana that night. We met the next afternoon at a little cafe tucked between a wine shop and a florist. She walked in before I could even get nervous. Tall, elegant, dark hair swept into a loose braid, wearing a simple fitted coat that clung to her waist just right. Her eyes were serious. No hesitation. She sat down across from me and said, "I'm guessing your wife's one of them." I nodded. "Yeah." Her gaze didn't soften, but her voice did. "I'm sorry. He has a way of targeting women who still think passion is supposed to feel dangerous." "Dangerous," I repeated bitterly. She stirred her tea. "He makes you feel like you're the only one. Then he fucks you until you forget how lonely you were before. Then, when you do, he disappears. Until the next time." I pulled my phone from my pocket and played the audio. She listened in silence. No flinch. No tears. When it ended, she looked at me and said, "You want to take him down?" "I want him ruined." "Good," she said. "Then we're on the same page." Over the next week, Lana and I started plotting. She worked in marketing, social media strategy, image management for influencers. "If you want someone publicly destroyed," she said, "I'm basically a scalpel." We created a fake Instagram profile posing as a betrayed wife anonymously sharing her story. The captions were subtle at first. Cryptic quotes, audio clips. One post showed just a man's hands on a woman's hips, with the caption, "You said I was the only one." The posts picked up traction. Women began DMing the account. At least 6 of them confirmed Dante's name. Some sent screenshots, photos, complaints. A couple even offered to join in. It was working. Lana and I texted constantly. Met in secret. We'd start at coffee shops, but linger in her car afterward. Music low, windows fogged slightly from our breath. The plan gave us a shared purpose. But underneath it, something else started to build, something I didn't expect. One night, after a long session editing audio clips in her apartment, she leaned against the wall beside me, arms crossed, wine in hand. She was wearing leggings and a thin white tank top. No bra. I try not to notice. "Failed. I'm sorry," she said softly. "For what?" "For knowing what it feels like to be replaced while you're still in the room." That hit hard. I turned to face her, only inches apart. I could feel the heat radiating off her skin. Her eyes flicked down to my lips, then back up. Quick, involuntary. But I saw it. So did she. "I should go," I said, voice tight. "Do you want to?" she asked, without moving. No, I didn't. Not really. But I stepped back anyway. "I'm not there yet." She gave me a small nod. "Good. Because if you were, I wouldn't trust you." That earned a bitter smile from me. "You always this careful? When you've been betrayed?" "Yeah," she said. "But you're not the only one figuring out who you are now." The posts began to gain attention. One was shared by a local influencer with over 100,000 followers. It didn't take long for people to start connecting the dots. A couple of comments guessed Dante's full name. Then, the messages turned angry. "He did this to me too. He told me I was special. My husband almost divorced me because of him." The cracks in Dante's world were spreading. Back at home, Megan was still in the dark, still playing the faithful wife. I watched her fold laundry while humming to herself. I watched her scroll through her phone, smiling. And I wondered, what the hell was she smiling at? But I didn't ask. I didn't touch her. I just watched. Because the storm was almost here. And soon, she'd feel it too. The video went live on a Sunday night. We picked the time carefully, 9 p.m., when people were scrolling in bed, digesting weekend drama, and primed for gossip. Lana scheduled the post with surgical precision. The thumbnail was simple, a blurred silhouette of a shirtless man, standing too close to a woman in lingerie, face obscured. The caption read, "Your wife's favorite therapist has a secret." Within 10 minutes, it had over 1,200 views. We didn't include Megan's name in the first post. Just a supercut of Dante's voice, bragging, moaning, murmuring lines that were unmistakably personal. Lana edited it like a trailer, a rhythm of audio confessions spliced over sensual music. His words lured the viewer in, but the way he said Megan mid-sentence? That nailed him to the wall. By morning, it had exploded. Comments poured in. Shares skyrocketed. It made its way from Instagram to Twitter to TikTok. Someone uploaded it to Reddit with the caption, "Massage therapist confesses to banging dozens of married women. Gets exposed." Dante Studio's Yelp page was bombarded with 1-star reviews. Then the real bomb dropped. Someone from his client list recognized Megan's name in the audio. Whether it was her voice mentioned in passing or a loose-lipped brag he'd once made to a mutual friend, I'll never know. But it didn't take long before someone publicly commented, "Isn't Megan D. one of his regulars?" And just like that, the damage bled into my house. It started with a text from Megan's friend Jill. "Hey, are you okay? I think you should call me." Like now. When Megan saw it, she froze. I watched her unlock her phone and stare at the screen. I could see the color drain from her face, her thumbs hovering, then retreating. The mask cracked. For the first time in weeks, I saw a panic ripple across her expression. Then came the call from her sister. Then her boss. Then silence. She walked into the kitchen, phone still clutched in her hand, face blank. "Did you see this?" she asked, voice too casual. I shrugged. "See what?" She looked up, eyes wide. "There's a video going around. Someone exposed Dante. Like, audio of him talking about clients. Sexual stuff." "Huh." I took a sip of coffee. "That's awful." She blinked, searching for a read on me. But I gave her nothing. "I mean," she added quickly, "he never did anything inappropriate with me. Just massages. Totally professional." I met her eyes and smiled slightly. "Of course." And just like that, she walked out of the room, quick, stiff. I heard her pacing upstairs for the next hour. Her door opened and shut 3 times. She didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. By Monday night, it wasn't just internet buzz, it was news. Local bloggers picked up the story. A Facebook mom group shared it, discussing whether to warn the community or stay out of people's marriages. But the kicker came when a local lifestyle podcast aired an entire episode on it. They called him the pleasure practitioner. I listened to it while making dinner. "You know what's wild?" the host said. "He name drops this one woman, Megan D. It's all audio, but come on. How many Megan D's in this city go to Dante's studio? Her friends must be losing their minds." They were. I saw the group texts when Megan left her laptop open that night. Jill, Rachel, a woman named Tessa. One of them flat out asked, "Is it true? Did he really say your name?" Megan didn't respond. She just sat on the couch staring at the TV, volume muted, scrolling through the firestorm on her phone. Meanwhile, Dante's empire was crumbling. By Thursday, his website had gone offline. The spa's Google profile was locked. News outlets began requesting statements. And then, the final nail, a woman uploaded photos of Dante shirtless in his studio, hand placed suggestively on a client's thigh. Blurred face, but the pose said everything. I watched his social media go dark, account by account. One moment, he was promoting energy healing and sacral release therapy. The next, nothing. He was vanishing in real time. I met Lana that night for drinks. She wore black, tight jeans, low-cut top, red lips. A slow-burn storm in the shape of a woman. She ordered bourbon, neat. No hesitation. "He's done," she said simply. I nodded. "And Megan?" Lana paused. "You're not done with her yet, are you?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She smiled sadly. "Sometimes we don't want revenge. We just want someone to admit it. Just once. That they broke something inside us." I looked at her, my throat dry. "You sound like you've been here before." "I have," she said. "More than once." There was a long silence between us. And then her voice dropped. "Do you ever think about what you'll do after this?" I didn't lie. "Yeah, I think about you." Her breath caught. She looked away, exhaling. "Then stop now, or I won't be able to pretend it's just a plan anymore." Her voice trembled at the edges, not with weakness, but something more dangerous, restraint. I didn't touch her, but I wanted to. God, I wanted to. When I got home, Megan was sitting at the kitchen island with a bottle of wine, nearly empty. She looked up at me, face flushed, lips parted. She didn't speak right away. Then, with slow venom, she whispered, "You knew, didn't you?" I held her gaze, cold and silent. And for the first time since it all began, she looked afraid. She didn't ask again. Megan stared at me for a long time that night, wine glass shaking slightly in her hand. Her eyes were red, but dry. She wasn't crying, not yet. She was calculating, like someone stuck at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to leap or scream for help. "You knew," she said again, softer now. "How long?" I walked past her, poured myself a glass of water, and leaned against the sink. "Long enough," I said. She set the wine glass down, too hard. The clink echoed through the quiet kitchen. I didn't mean for it to happen. I laughed under my breath. "Is that supposed to make this easier to swallow?" That he just tripped and fell into you. She flinched. It felt good, until it didn't. There was a long silence. Then she looked at me, her voice barely audible. I was lonely, Nathan. You stopped touching me. You stopped looking at me like I was me. You looked through me, like I was part of the furniture. I turned to face her, something sharp rising in my chest. And your solution to that was to spread your legs for a man who seduces bored wives for sport. She recoiled like I'd slapped her, but I didn't stop. I listened to every fucking word he said about you, Megan. I heard him brag to strangers about how you scream when he goes deep. How you beg. How you wear lingerie just for him. You were proud of it. Do you understand that? Tears came then, slow and silent. She wiped at her cheek, but didn't argue. I felt seen, she whispered. Seen? My voice cracked. By a man who does this to everyone? You were a goddamn trophy on his wall. She said nothing. I set my glass down and leaned forward. Tell me the truth. Was it just sex? She looked up, and the pause told me everything before her mouth could. I don't know. And there it was. The final nail. She moved out 3 days later. Not because I told her to, but because she couldn't stand the silence anymore. The guilt was too heavy, and I didn't lift it. The kids stayed with me. They were still young enough not to understand, but old enough to know something had broken. I gave them the stable version of myself. The composed dad who packed lunches, helped with homework, tucked them in. The other version, the hollow, seething one, I saved for after bedtime. Megan stayed in a hotel the first night. Then at her sister's. She texted often. Updates. Apologies. One-liners that tried to stitch a wound far too deep. I'm sorry. I miss you. I made a mistake. I read them. I didn't reply. Dante, meanwhile, had gone dark. But silence didn't mean peace. A week after the exposure, he reappeared, on a burner Instagram account, of all things. Not his usual shirtless wellness guru style. This one was filled with cryptic text posts and a growing bitterness. When people betray your trust, they always find a way to make themselves the victim. I've done nothing wrong that wasn't consensual. They edited everything. I'll find the ones who did it. The last one stuck with me. He was looking. And I had no doubt his ego was too big to let it go. 2 days later, Lana called me. Don't panic, she said, voice tight. But I think he's onto something. She forwarded me a screenshot. A post on a local men's forum. Anyone know who started the IG page about Dante? Rumors it's a pissed-off husband. There was more. He booked sessions with Dante. Was recording him. That's what I heard. I didn't breathe for a moment. How close is he? I asked. He doesn't know it's you. Yet. But he's sniffing around. I sat down slowly, heart thudding. Should we pull the account? No. Not yet. That gives him power. Then what? Her silence said what she didn't want to. He might come after you, she said finally. Or her. He came after her first. I wasn't home when it happened, but I got the call from Megan an hour after she returned to the house to grab a few things. Her voice was shaking so hard I could barely understand her. He was outside. Nathan, he was outside the house. Did he say anything? No. Just stared. From across the street. He knows. Oh my God, he knows. I felt that cold rage surge again, deeper this time. He was escalating. He won't touch you. I said, my voice low. Trust me. I'm scared. I didn't respond to that. Because part of me didn't care. Not anymore. That night, I loaded the footage. There was a camera in the driveway. One of those smart home upgrades I'd installed before all of this began. There he was. Standing across the street. Hoodie up. Hands in his pockets. Jaw clenched tight, like he was chewing rage. For 15 minutes, he didn't move. Just stared at the house. At my house. At her. I saved the clip, time-stamped it, and emailed it to myself. Just in case. Later, Lana and I sat in her apartment again. This time, no pretense. She curled up beside me on the couch, her head resting on my shoulder. There was no music. No wine. Just silence and the sound of two people who had lost something, but found a strange kind of peace in each other. I hate that this brought us together, she said, but I'm glad we met. I turned to look at her. And then, I kissed her. Slow. Soft. No hunger. No heat. Just quiet understanding and mutual ruin. She kissed me back. Because in that moment, we weren't building revenge anymore. We were just trying to feel whole. It didn't take long for the fire to consume everything. By the second week, Dante's spa had officially closed. The website redirected to a blank page. His Google profile was gone, scrubbed. His Yelp reviews were still there, but frozen in time, The last 30 all versions of the same message. Seducer of wives. Dangerous predator. He ruined my marriage. Local news finally picked up the story, without naming Megan, thankfully. But it didn't matter. Screenshots of the comments from the anonymous Instagram page had already circulated. People connected the dots. Someone even uploaded a clip to TikTok syncing Dante's voice over slow footage of suburban houses and women walking into his studio. It had a haunting piano score. It went viral. 7 million views. I didn't expect the fallout to hit Megan so hard. At first, she tried to keep going, head down, polite smile, pretending nothing had happened. She went to work, went to yoga, went grocery shopping. But then came the whispers. Not to her face. Not directly, but loud enough to be heard. The first time she broke down was in the parking lot of the supermarket. I wasn't there. I heard about it from her sister, who called me in tears. Megan collapsed outside the car, she said. People were staring. She was shaking. Couldn't even drive herself home. Why are you calling me? Because she needs someone. And you're still her husband. I hung up without answering. That night, Megan texted. Please. I need to talk to you. Just one conversation. One real one. I stared at the message until my phone went dark. 3 days later, I agreed to meet her. Neutral ground, a quiet park we used to walk when the kids were toddlers, chasing ducks and blowing bubbles like we had all the time in the world. She was already sitting on a bench when I arrived. Sunglasses. Hoodie. Pale skin. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of everything had pressed her into something less than she used to be. I sat beside her, but didn't look at her. She took off the sunglasses. I lost everything. You didn't lose it, I said flatly. You gave it away. She flinched, but nodded. I don't even know who I am anymore. I kept my gaze forward on the pond. That's the difference between us, Megan. I still do. I know who I am. I'm a father. I'm someone who doesn't cheat. I'm someone who believed in us when you didn't. Her voice cracked. I wanted to believe. I was just empty. You were selfish, I snapped. Call it what it is. Tears slid down her cheeks. But they didn't sway me. Not anymore. I still love you, she said. And for the first time in months, I looked at her, really looked. Do you love me? Or do you just miss the man who could tolerate you before the world saw who you really are? She covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook with quiet sobs. I let her cry, but I didn't reach for her. Lana didn't press me for details when I told her I met Megan. She just nodded slowly and said, You okay? Getting there, I said. We didn't sleep together that night. Instead, we lay side by side, fully clothed, just talking. About the weird pain of half-healing. About how revenge gives you purpose, but doesn't fill the hole when the purpose is fulfilled. I think I'm done, I said softly. Done with her? I nodded. And with him. It's over now. Lana brushed her thumb over the back of my hand. Then maybe it's time to start something new. The next day, Megan came to the house to see the kids. She lingered in the entryway, scanning everything like it was a museum of a life she'd once lived in. There was a photo still on the wall, our last family vacation. The beach. The fake smiles. The lie we'd both believed in too long. She turned to me before leaving. I'm sorry for everything. I just wanted to feel alive again. You could have chosen us, I said. You could have told me. Asked for help. We could have tried. But instead, you went as someone else. She swallowed hard. Can you ever forgive me? Maybe, I said. But forgiveness doesn't mean staying. Her lips trembled, but she nodded. I'm filing next month, I added. Let's keep it clean. For the kids. She stepped back like I'd hit her. But then she did something unexpected. She smiled. A real one. Small. Wounded. But real. I deserve this, she whispered. Thank you for not destroying me more than I destroyed myself. That night, Lana and I walked through a night market, hand in hand. Lanterns glowed above us. Music drifted from a nearby speaker, something soft and low and full of memory. She looked at me and said, You look lighter. I smiled. Maybe because I'm not pretending anymore. And I wasn't. Megan was a scar now. Dante was a ghost. But Lana? Lana was real. I didn't expect him to show up at my door. Dante. Not in broad daylight, not in front of my house, and definitely not with that same smug, pretty boy arrogance he wore like cologne. But there he was, leaning against the black hood of his car like he was posing for a goddamn magazine cover, right in my driveway. I'd just gotten back from dropping the kids at school. Lana had texted me that morning. Just a simple, steady message. Don't let your guard down. He's spiraling. I hadn't. but I didn't expect him to show his face. When I got out of the car, he straightened and walked toward me slowly, sunglasses on. That same casual swing in his stride that probably made Megan drop her panties without a second thought. I didn't speak. I let him close the distance, heart thudding hard. Not with fear, but with something hotter. "You're the guy," he said quietly. I said nothing. He looked me over. "You don't look like much." I let the silence stretch. Then, "Neither do you." Once people stopped kneeling. That smirk of his cracked. "You think you're a hero? Exposing me? You ruined everything I built." "No," I said, stepping in. "You ruined it. I just turned on the lights." His jaw tightened. His right hand twitched. I knew the look. I'd seen it before. Men about to swing who wanted a reason. I gave him one. "I've heard your voice more than Megan has at this point," I said. "And trust me, you don't sound like a man. You sound like a bad porn audition." That was enough. His fist came fast, but sloppy. Rage kills technique. I ducked, twisted, and drove my shoulder into his chest, sending him stumbling backward across the lawn. He regained his footing quick. Swung again. This time he connected. My jaw flared with heat, but the taste of blood sharpened me. I hit back, harder, and we went down into the dirt, fists and elbows and years of betrayal exploding in the space between us. Neighbors were yelling. A dog barked, but all I saw was his face. His smug, golden boy face. The one she kissed. The one she moaned for. I drove my fist into his gut, then his jaw, until I felt something give. He coughed and rolled, gasping, blood dripping from his nose. His shirt torn, hair matted. The king of hands-on healing, humiliated and writhing in the mulch. "Stay the fuck away from me," I growled, breath ragged. "From my house. From my kids. From everything. Or the next time, I won't stop." He spat blood into the grass. "You don't scare me." I leaned down close. "I'm not trying to scare you, Dante. I want you to vanish." Sirens in the distance. Too late. I stepped back as 2 patrol cars rolled up the street, lights flaring. He didn't move, just lay there, breathing hard, hatred in his eyes. The cops came fast, one hand on their holsters, the other already on radios. They separated us, took statements, asked if I wanted to press charges. Dante insisted I jumped him. I told them he was trespassing and had been stalking my wife. I played the audio from the night he stood across the street, watching. One of the officers recognized his voice from the viral video. "Oh," he muttered. "That guy." Dante's smirk returned, wobbly, bloodied, but still there. "You're going down with me," he hissed. "You think people won't figure out it was you who leaked all of it?" I smiled. "Let them." Megan arrived 20 minutes later. I didn't call her. The cops did. Emergency contact, still. She rushed out of her car, panic on her face. "Nathan, what happened?" She stopped dead when she saw him, sitting handcuffed on the curb. Her gaze snapped to me. "Did he hurt you?" I laughed, sharp, humorless. "Only a few months ago. This was just the receipt." She stepped toward me, reaching out. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know he'd come here. I swear." I stepped back. Her hand dropped. "You brought this into our lives," I said. "You don't get to be the one who's scared now." She stared at me for a long moment, then turned to Dante. He looked up at her, bruised and bloody, like he expected something. Pity. Affection. One last piece of validation. She said nothing, just stood there, watching the police lead him to the back of the car like trash being taken to the curb. The next morning, the story made the rounds again. Exposed massage therapist arrested after altercation with alleged whistleblower. They didn't name me, but they hinted. A few comments speculated. A few guessed right. I didn't care, because in the end, truth didn't need a name attached. It just needed to be heard. That night, I sat on Lana's couch, hands still bandaged, jaw aching slightly where he'd clipped me. She traced her fingers over my bruised knuckles gently, then looked up at me with that mix of softness and steel that always undid me. "You did what needed to be done," she said. "No," I replied. "I did what I needed to do." She leaned in close, her breath warm. Her lips ghosted mine. Then she whispered, "You're allowed to feel everything, even the ugly parts." I kissed her, slow, deep, grateful. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like a man chasing closure. I felt like a man choosing what came next. The silence was strange at first. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, like something's missing, but the kind that feels earned. Like the end of a long, brutal song. There were no more footsteps from Megan upstairs. No ping of her phone lighting up in the middle of the night. No more pretending. Just quiet. And in that quiet, I could finally hear myself think again. Dante was out of state now, last I heard. Word was, he left the city after the assault charge. It never made it to court. He cut a deal, pled out, and disappeared into some backwater spot town 2 counties over. Probably spinning the same seduction in a different zip code, only with fewer followers and a broken nose. He'd lost his license, his reputation, his influence. And Megan? She lost more than she ever expected. She moved into a 1-bedroom apartment on the west side. I offered her the house and the divorce settlement, not as a gift, but as a statement. Keep the shell. I'm building something real. She declined. Said it reminded her of what she broke. Good. Let it. Lana was with me the day the divorce was finalized. She didn't come into the courthouse. Just waited in the car outside, watching through the window as I signed the final papers. When I slid into the passenger seat, she handed me a coffee and kissed my jaw lightly. Free man, she said, her voice soft but steady. I didn't feel celebratory. I felt clean. Like finally getting out of a shirt you didn't know had been suffocating you for years. You okay? She asked. I think so. Not sure. I turned to look at her. Her dark eyes held mine with that same mix of understanding and challenge I'd come to crave. I feel like I won, I said slowly. But I don't know what I lost to get here. She nodded once. That's honest. I appreciated that she didn't try to fix it. Lana never papered over things. She just held them, steady, in her hands, and let me look. We didn't rush into anything. There was attraction, yes, plenty. But it wasn't like with Megan. There were no roles to perform, no perfect image to project to dinner party friends or parent-teacher nights. With Lana, it was just 2 broken people learning how to breathe again. She came over some nights and stayed. Other times we'd spend hours just walking, around the park, through bookstores, downtown past the old theater that still smelled faintly of popcorn and dust. We never held hands at first. It felt too symbolic. Too much like we were trying to replace what had been lost. But one night, walking along the river, I reached for her hand without thinking. And she didn't let go. Megan tried, once, to talk again. Not to win me back, just to ask the question that had been burning through her since the day everything collapsed. We met at a neutral cafe, sunlight cutting clean through the tall windows. She looked tired. Not haggard, not ruined. Just real. A woman finally stripped of performance. She stirred her tea, eyes down. Do you hate me? I paused. Then, no. Her eyes flicked up, surprised. I did, I said. For a long time. I hated you. I hated him. I hated myself for not seeing it. For not being enough. But now, I exhaled. I don't hate you. I just don't believe in you anymore. She nodded slowly. Her lip quivered. Fair. She didn't apologize. She already had, many times. At some point, apologies become hollow. You don't need more I'm sorries. You need someone to own their damage and live with it. I hope you're okay, she said finally. I will be. We didn't hug. We didn't shake hands. We just parted. Like 2 people leaving a funeral. One night, weeks later, I stood in front of the mirror and didn't recognize the man looking back. He was leaner, stronger, sharper around the edges. But more than that, he looked awake. Not just conscious. Present. For so long, I'd been sleepwalking through my life, checking boxes, nodding through routines, pretending contentment was the same thing as connection. I thought marriage was a contract. That love meant consistency, loyalty, repetition. Now I knew better. Love is work. Love is choice. And sometimes, love dies not with screaming, but with silence. Lana and I finally made love that weekend. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't frantic or fireworks or some Hollywood montage of lust. It was real. Slow. Her breath against my neck. Her fingers sliding through my hair. My hands on her hips, steady, as we moved together without rush. No performance. No illusion. Just 2 people daring to feel something again. After, she lay beside me, tracing a line across my chest. Do you regret anything? She asked. I stared at the ceiling. I regret trusting the wrong person. And now, I turned to her. Now, I'm learning to trust myself. She smiled. And for the first time in years, I smiled too, without bitterness behind it. The paperwork came in a plain manila envelope. No ceremony. No court date. Just a few pages, stapled in the corner, with my name typed cleanly at the top. Final decree of divorce. I sat at the kitchen table, holding it in both hands, letting the weight of the moment settle into my chest. I thought I might feel triumphant, relieved, free. Instead, I felt still. There was no dramatic release, no cinematic montage of catharsis, just stillness, like the last ripple vanishing across the surface of a lake after the storm has passed. I folded the papers, slid them back into the envelope, and placed it in a drawer. Then I poured myself a glass of water and stared out the kitchen window for a long time. The yard was quiet. The grass, finally greening with spring, swayed gently in the breeze. The tree we planted after our son was born had grown taller, its branches now brushing the top of the fence. A reminder that not everything broken stays broken. Some things grow, even after. Lana moved in a month later. Not because we were rushing, not because we needed to fill a void, but because, slowly and without pressure, our lives had started to weave together. She'd leave a coffee mug in my cabinet. I'd forget a sweatshirt at her place. Her toothbrush sat beside mine one morning, and neither of us said a word about it. We just let it happen. Her presence didn't fill the house the way Megan's used to. It fit. Quieter. More deliberate. She didn't decorate or rearrange furniture. She didn't ask me to paint walls or throw out old memories. She just took up space beside me like she belonged there. Because she did. Dante never came back. Not to our city. Not into our lives. Last I heard, he was living 3 states away, rebranding himself under some vaguely spiritual alias, Daniel Sage, or something equally ridiculous, selling chakra oils and breathwork coaching to influencers. There were no more threats, no more posts, no more smug Instagram stories. Just silence. Good. Let him live in the shadows he created. Megan and I maintained a polite distance. We shared custody of the kids, alternated weekends, and exchanged updates with the emotional restraint of seasoned diplomats. There were no fights, no begging, no last-minute confessions. Just 2 people co-parenting as best they could while stepping carefully around the debris of who they used to be. Every now and then, I'd catch a look in her eyes when she dropped the kids off, something soft, uncertain, a flicker of recognition, like she still remembered the man she betrayed and wondered if he might ever come back. He wouldn't. That version of me died in silence. The night I watched her kiss another man in the dark. The one who lived now had scars, edges, a sense of self that wasn't built around being needed. She saw that, and she knew better than to ask for it again. One Saturday morning, Lana and I took the kids to the farmer's market. The sun was warm on our backs, the scent of coffee and wildflowers thick in the air. My daughter tugged on my hand to see the honey stand. My son ran ahead, already pointing at something that looked suspiciously like candy disguised as health food. Lana laughed, really laughed, and chased after them, hair catching the wind. Eyes lit up like she'd just found something she thought she'd lost years ago. And in that moment, I saw it. The life I'd thought was over wasn't gone. It had just shifted, no longer defined by revenge, or betrayal, or pain, but by presence, by choice, by something as fragile and miraculous as hope. That night, after the kids had gone to sleep and the house was still, Lana and I curled up on the back porch, a blanket across our laps and a bottle of wine between us. The sky above was dark, stars faint, quiet pressing in on all sides. She looked over at me, her voice low. "Do you think this is it?" I glanced at her. "What do you mean? This, us, the second chance." I paused, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I did. "I think," I said slowly, "it's the first time I've ever really chosen something, or someone. Not out of obligation, not out of guilt or safety, but because I want to, because it feels right." She nodded. Her fingers laced through mine. "I want to be chosen," she whispered. "You are." She leaned into me then, her head on my shoulder, the night folding around us like a secret. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I realized. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of one that finally belonged to me. To us.